Joey Arnold, what is cheating? When you're in a relationship with when you have a boy and a girl and they're like kissing each other. Alright, let me tell you. Alright, I think that I have no idea. But here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say that it depends on what kind of level. And for the man, usually he thinks that it's some kind of act. That's what I've heard, and I believe that, and I agree. Some kind of act. And for the woman, it's gonna be some kind of emotional thing. No, not always, but generally, like I'm gonna say the word generally, and that's what I believe. And therefore, it's like if she feels like you did it, you're guilty of it, even if you're not. But I'm not gonna say that is always the case. I'm a man. What do I know? Okay, so what do I know? What do I know? Do I know anything? It doesn't matter. When you're in a relationship, you gotta work it out, and you're not always gonna be on the same page, and most often you're not gonna be on the same page, and that's generally what happens in any kind of relationship, whether it's romantic or not romantic. Let me say, you don't want a bad romance with Lady Gaga, or maybe you do, but it's very common to have miscommunication, and that's based on a lot of assumptions that both sides make. It's pretty devastating. It's pretty terrible. And therefore, what you got to do beforehand, before it becomes too serious, you got to really establish the relationship. You gotta have boundaries. You gotta really say what you believe. You gotta be specific. Like, you gotta really say what the rules are in the relationship. And if you violate it, then that's basically a form of cheating, or it could be something else. And not everything is relating to infidelity or fornication or adultery or any of those other things that's associated directly or indirectly with the topic of this video, cheating. What is it or what is it not? And everything else, like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is if it hit me in the face. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But it's like, I guess usually it's like if a man's with a woman and then the man's with another woman, that's crossing the line. But what level is too far? Well, I would say that you'd want to be above approach. You want to be as careful as possible. And you don't want anybody to like accuse you of anything. And so therefore, don't do anything that might be a little too in the gray area. And then you can play it safe. But no matter how hard you try, you're gonna run into some situations where you can be accused of something, even if you're not guilty of it. And so you got to be aware of that, and you got to be ready for it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, it may not work out. That's unfortunate. It may not work out of the relationship. But if it's a strong relationship, then you can reconcile, and you got to be a man to take it. Hopefully you've chosen a good person, a good woman who can handle it, but maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. It depends. And sometimes you just gotta suck it up. And if you get falsely accused of something, then you take it. You take it like a man, and you let it happen. Even if they're wrong and you're right. Sometimes you gotta really compromise. But first of all, you don't want to get into you really don't want to get into that situation in the first place, and so you really got to establish the rules. But a lot of people don't do that a lot, and a lot of people make assumptions about what the other person is thinking and what the expectations are, and for the most part, it goes beyond just assumptions that are made all the time without thinking about it, like, it's not just assumptions that you think about. It's also just the fact that you don't think about it. Then terrible things happen, and this happens all the time. People don't think it through. They don't think life through, and then they end up in situations that they shouldn't be in. And if you don't have a good foundation, if you don't have good principles that are eternal and objective and universal and stuff like that, then you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. And it's unfortunate, but it happens all the time. It happens to a lot of people. It happens to everybody sometimes. It's devastating, but it's important to establish boundaries. It's good to know who you are, what you believe, and what you're not willing to compromise with. You really got to let the other person know what the expectations are, and if they violate it, then you should probably confront them and then try to work it out. And if they don't, you eventually have to really make an ultimatum. You probably should. Unfortunately, people become a little too interdependent, or what's the word? Interdependent? Or what's the other word for that? There's a better way to put it. But it's like, what's the word for being dependent? When you're too excessively dependent on the other person, then you're trapped, and then you're in some kind of abusive relationship. And that's unfortunate. It happens to a lot of people, and I think it's really tough to define. I started this video out really silly by asking the question in a silly voice. I like the voice. I like being silly. I also like to be serious, and I go back and forth. I like to smile, and I also like to not smile. And I really like to express my ideas and communicate. And you got to do that in a relationship. You got to do all of that. Everything that I said, basically, you got to be serious. And you got to be not so serious. And you got to try to communicate. In a relationship, whatever relationship that you're in, all kinds of relationships, and especially the romantic kind, and cheating is a thing that may or may not happen, and you really don't want to get to that point, but it's going to happen whether you're doing it or you're not doing it. You think you're doing it, or maybe you're not doing it, maybe you are, maybe you're not, who knows, but it's like, you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for the worst. And a lot of times people don't want to do it because a lot of times you're in a relationships and you don't know how long it's going to last, because everything else is happening in life, and people live life and they get busy, and so they don't have time to process, and they don't have time to figure out how long is this going to be, because you really got to have a mindset of a long-term thinking. Like, you gotta have a long, what's the word? Long, why is this so hard to say? Long-term mindset. It has to be really long-term, as opposed to short-term through the fail of instant gratification, and that's very dominant, very super mega dominant. When you let your emotions be your guide, as opposed to letting your spirit and heart be your guide. And when I say heart, I mean spirit. And a lot of times people say heart, and it's important to establish what heart means. And if your heart is grounded, then that's good, but a lot of times the heart is not. A lot of times your heart is misaligned or disaligned. It's gone astray. It's down there, over there in the gutter, and that's not really good. It's unfortunate, and it happens all the time to a lot of people. We have all gone astray. We have all missed the mark, and it's devastating and destructive, and it destroys families and societies and everything else you can imagine under the hood. It's terrible, but you really got to know yourself before you try to step into into the shoes of other people. It's like when you're in a relationship, you are undertaking the worst and the best of other people, and that's something that is really hard to do, especially if you don't have yourself under control, which is usually the case. But I mean, sometimes people do really badly alone, and they may be the people that really need to be with people more than other people. But I mean, I can't imagine exactly how it all works, because it's like some people are better by themselves, but it's not like you can't benefit when you're with other people. I mean, but there are all kinds of different kinds of relationships. It doesn't have to be the romantic kind, and even if you are in a romantic kind, there are different kinds of romantic relationships depending on the type of person you are and the type of person your partner is. And so how that all works depends on all of that, all the details of how you're gonna work it out and how you're gonna do it, what kind of person you want to be, and what kind of life you want to have with the other person. And you really got to be ready for the trials and the temptations and everything that life is going to throw at you. It's a pretty crazy world, and people are not ready most of the time, and they come at it from a instant gratification kind of a mindset early on, and too early on. And you want to be ready to treat the other people correctly as early as possible, but not in a overly sexual kind of way. And what I mean by that is, like, you don't want to get lost in that, because you want to do it in the right order. You want to get there when the time is right. And if you don't, then you mess everything up. And you don't want to mess everything up. And life is better when you do things as it is meant to be. Not that you don't have the free will to do whatever the hell you want, kind of thing. And the freedom's very fundamental, and it's very important. It's very pivotal to the meaning of life and love and everything else. And the pursuit of happiness is very critical, but that doesn't mean that it's right. It just means that you have the ability to do whatever you want to do. But with that said, you should want to do the right thing. And that is objective. That is a fundamental path. It comes from a world that is never ending, and it's not subjective, it's not relative, it's objective. But some people may not really believe in that, even though it's something that is part of life. Subjectivity and relativity is part of life, in that we all got it. We're all biased. We're all limited in our perspectives, and everything that we know is not good enough, and we're not perfect, and we make mistakes, and therefore we are by default totally or partly subjective and relative and all of that. And therefore, everything that we think and feel and believe is built on that foundation of that limited perspective that is relative and subjective and all of that. And it's critical to understand that's your starting point, but you should be aiming for a higher level in life. You really want to level up, and it would be great for you to find a partner that wants to level up with you and run that race with you and go in the same path that you are. And that means focus and priority and dedication, and there's a lot of value in having a relationship where you are focused on a common goal, common dreams, and you're going the same path. And if you're able to come together and talk about it and really establish some kind of contract, some kind of set of boundaries and rules, then you're able to operate within that covenant, that kind of contract. And if it's clearly broken, then you gotta do something about it, and you really gotta confront the other person. You may need other people involved in the trial. I want to say the word trial. I like that word, trial. You gotta really seek after some kind of reconciliation kind of thing. But in the heat of the moment, you could fight, but you shouldn't, and you should take a step back, cool off, and then work it out. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. Most of the time it doesn't happen, and either people don't talk about it until everything gets worse and worse over time and then blows up like a volcano, or they end it too quickly, prematurely. A lot of relationships are just ended, and the one person dumps the other person because of a misunderstanding, a miscommunication, or whatever the case might be. And that's really unfortunate. It happens all the time, and I'm telling you, it's too bad. But what are you gonna do? I don't know. I'm just a oatmeal man talking to the internet, talking to myself, basically. I think it was interesting to talk about, and I think it's really cool to try to understand things. And I made this video because I was watching a video earlier today by Chris C. Meyer, and then she was talking to the other person about that, and I thought that was a productive conversation they were having. And I've not seen that other person before until now. Let me look really quickly at the name of the video. Is Dirty Talk with Married Men Cheating with Amber Sweetheart and Chrissy Mayer. What a good discussion they had. And I say it's a really good question. And then I had a bunch of comments under her video with a few other people. And like Diamond back. And I thought it was a good conversation, a good thread to be in. And I think it's good to talk about. I think it's really, really healthy to talk about this kind of stuff. And I'm happy that we got an internet that we can have, because it's a lot like therapy. So if you're in a bad situation, you got to go to therapy, or you got to talk it out with the other person. At least talk it out with the other person. You might be able to handle it. Maybe you need a third party. A lot of times people need a third party to really work it out and try to figure it out. But it's like some people do marriage counseling, and they do that while they're in the process of getting married, and that can help. I don't know if everybody should do it, and perhaps some people want to be single, or maybe they should be single forever, or they shouldn't get married. I'm not gonna say what really everybody should do, what each person should do, but I would imagine that a lot of people would benefit from being in some kind of relationship that can help them while they can help the other person. I think it's very, very useful. but you really gotta be on the same page. I can't emphasize that enough. And I harp on that. I say that a lot because I believe in the value of communicating. That's one of the things that I would talk about as an English teacher in Vietnam. I would definitely talk about that. I like to talk about that. I think it's very important, and it's a fundamental thing in life. And I think it's really cool. I get excited about it, maybe a little bit too excited about it. So excited, then people look at me and be like, "Are you on drugs?" And I'm like, "No," but life is a roller coaster, and sometimes you really need to be able to go on the roller coaster of life with other people, and that's the beauty of a relationship. You're running a race, and you look next to you, and you see somebody who's running the race with you, and you look at the other person, and you say, "Hey, you want to hold my hand?" And if they agree, then you hold their hand and you continue to go in the same path. You shouldn't just like run off and try to find somebody or sit around and wait too long. Sometimes you gotta wait, and sometimes you gotta go. You know, red light, green light, or red light, green light. Sometimes you gotta go. Sometimes you gotta wait. But a lot of times, people are waiting too much. Some people are running too fast, like me, overworking myself and everything in my life. I'm learning about that in my life. I'm thinking about that a lot. I have to learn to not overwork myself, and other people have to learn how to work themselves, period. And they're waiting too much, or they're doing other things, and sometimes you gotta go, sometimes you gotta wait, and sometimes you gotta go, and a lot of times people gotta go, and sometimes you're running in the wrong direction, sometimes you're on the wrong path in your life. But if you're on the right path, then that's really good. But a lot of times people they wanna get a career before they get married, and then that may never work out, and a lot of times you get lost. And it's good to take care of yourself or make money. I guess it's good to be independent and be able to provide for yourself and for the people that you care about. But at the same time, life is too small in a way, and I know a lot of people say that, but it's critical to understand that you got to be very driven, you got to be very focused if you want to be successful and everything. You really got to get things done. And you really gotta not play around too much. You gotta really know how to balance yourself, and you gotta know what you want. And then sometimes when you realize that what you want is not really what you want, then you gotta like have the gut to stop it and then turn around, do a 180, and be like, okay, I'm doing this thing because I really don't want to do that, because that's not the right thing. And so it takes a lot of humility to turn around from the one thing and do the other thing. A lot of times that's really hard to do, because then people run into a lot of student debt. They go to college and it just tears them up, and then they're paying back their student loans for 20 years, and that's about all they can do. And so you really got to be careful about the kind of choices you make, especially younger people. But they're pulled into that black hole of colleges and universities, and some people should, and it depends on what you want to do. It depends on what kind of person you are. But in the midst of all that, you're looking for somebody, and if you are looking for somebody, if you're looking for a lover, you're looking for someone to love forever and ever, never. Ooh, kiss, mwah, mwah, mwah. If you're really looking for a lover, you start to look for them under your bed, and in the bars, and in the zoos, and other parks, and wherever they're hiding. And sometimes you got to do that, but sometimes you should try to really like multitask as much as possible, in the sense of you probably should try to do both. If you can, you should try to go in the direction that you should go in life overall, and then hope that somebody will be there that you want to start a family with or something. And it doesn't always work out, and I guess especially if you're in China and there's not a lot of women, you're a man, and there's not a lot of women to go by. And if you want a woman, if you're a man in China and you want a woman and there's not a lot of women, what are you gonna do? And so sometimes your luck runs out, and I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do if I was you in that kind of situation, but and I'm not here to talk about what I've done, at least not in this video. I'm not going to talk too much about what I've done or what I'm doing in regards to all that, except to say, oh, nothing really. And will I ever do something? I don't know. I don't really want to talk about that right now because that would take forever to talk about, and I can talk very generically for almost 30 minutes, and imagine how long I can talk if I wasn't being so generic. Like this video, for example, I think I said a few things that are interesting, and I enjoyed listening to myself talk because I like to hear the sound of my voice, and I think that is kind of cool. Some people, I believe, have said that my sound is soothing, and other people have said the complete opposite. So that makes me wonder sometimes. But in life, you're going to run into all kinds of people, and if you feel like nobody likes you, it's probably because you might be in the wrong place and you shouldn't be there. Not necessarily, but that's how the cookie crumbles, and I feel like I should do this video again, make this video again, start over because I started it badly, but I'm just gonna upload it because I've already talked for almost 30 minutes, and I feel like it's a little bit valuable, at least for myself, and I think it's kind of cool. I think that you got to really be focused, and you really got to go, and then perhaps somebody is there near you, and you can hold their hand if they want to hold your hand, and you just ask really nicely and be able to play it out carefully, but funly and softly, but not too seriously, and take it a step at a time, but not foolishly, like living in the moment kind of thing. You want to live in the moment, but you gotta think long term at the same time, and so it's like you're in the present, and it's a present, it's a gift, like the turtle said in Kung Fu Panda 3. It's a present, that's why it's a gift. It's a gift because it's a present, being in the moment. It's really good. You gotta be in the moment. You gotta have the mindset of being in the future. And I don't know what they say in Star Wars in Yoda, like, hey, Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker, hey, in Empire Strikes Back, like, don't be stuck in the future. In the prequels, hey, don't be stuck in the prequels. Don't be stuck in the prequels. My mind's always on the prequels. Don't be stuck in the future is what I meant to say. But it's like I get that. Don't get lost in the path. The wrong path. Don't get lost. What I meant to say was don't get lost in the past, and don't get lost in the future. And you got to find the balance. But as you're going, you really got to have your eyes open, and you don't want to force things, and eventually things will come together, but you do have obligation. You do have things that you probably should do, and if you do them, then things may be better. Not necessarily, because there's a lot of things in motion all the time. Things are in motion, but if you're doing your part, then you shouldn't feel guilty. If you're doing your best, if you're trying your best in life, that's all you can do. In life, you never know, and so you're always gonna have that uncertainty, and it's okay to an extent. Don't let it overrun your life and consume you, is what I would say. That's all I gotta say for now.